Cool. Okay. Um, Good. So I took some notes. I just have to find them. Yeah. So for today, I wanted to first talk about that you wrote that you want some PMS education, like how to train with PMS or how it could affect you. And I think it's actually pretty simple, even though it might seem a bit more complex. But one thing that happens during our menstrual cycle is during the luteal phase. So uh, you have the follicular phase, which is day one of bleeding. The follicular phase starts, and then you go until ovulation. That's usually where we feel a bit stronger, more fit, and less ADHD. And then when you ovulate, afterwards, you're in the luteal phase. And usually in that phase, connective tissue is a little bit more lax in all women, apparently. But when you think about that, you have EDS, you can probably maybe even notice it when you stretch or train, that you feel like you're a bit more prone to injury in your connective tissue areas. So I think that's the main part to look out for when you train during that phase, is that you avoid passive pushing to end ranges then, more than you would at other times of your cycle. So I also noticed that in my body, and I have literally stopped doing strong end range stretching during that time. Active flexibility is fine because it's your muscles pulling you wherever you go, but super passive is not super optimal, then I found. So that's really the main thing to look out for. And then about the other stuff with energy and recovery and everything, I think it's really good to go with how you feel. Because for a while, I also did that I was like, okay, it's the luteal phase, I'm weaker and everything, so I won't train as strongly. And it kind of sometimes prevented me from doing, a tougher session, even though I could have. So now I don't really think about, I am in this phase, so I have to do that. I think, how do I feel today? How was my sleep? How stressed am I? And I do think which part of my cycle I'm at, but I don't let it influence me before I even start. I just feel it out. So I don't self-limit. You know what I mean? Yeah. So that's my main take. But if you have any more questions about the PMS, you can go ahead and ask them, of course.
Yeah. I don't have any questions right now. Yeah, I was just foam rolling before my session with you. I don't have a question per se, but I always notice like this gets like I post like all the time on Discord,
Yeah.
but like this gets like puffy and acidic, and I know I have that issue, but it gets like worse during PMS. I'm not PMSing now, but it still was like puffy, and I'll ask my physio about it. I'll see the gastroenterologist, and we'll maybe figure something out. Yeah.
Yeah. So you feel like it's in your intestines where it feels strange, or is it more the ligaments in here?
It's like right between like the six pack muscle here. There's like a column of muscles here, and then it's like deep in here.
Yeah.
So yeah, and it feels like puffy or like acid, and it's just
Okay.
been a mystery for me for the past years.
Okay.
But I don't know if it's muscular or if it's gastrointestinal or other organs, and they don't really know yet either. So we'll
Yeah.
figure it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure they are better equipped than me to figure out this specific mystery,
Yeah.
because I don't know what it is. Um, Then you also mentioned that you sometimes struggle getting good quality sleep, or you feel like the fact that you do sometimes struggle sleeping enough can affect your training and your progress. So I just wanted to give you an input of 2 supplements that you could try to help you sleep better and have better sleep. And I don't know, maybe get tired enough to be able to go to bed or sleep through. So I can write those to you also later on the Instagram DMs. But I found that magnesium bisglycinate, I don't know if I'm pronouncing it correctly in English, but that one is a type of magnesium that is especially helpful for nervous system support and enabling your nervous system to calm down and be able to fall asleep faster and better and feel less tense also overall. So that has been extremely helpful for me in the past 2 or even 3 years now. And I've recommended it also to a lot of students before, and most of them gave me the feedback that it felt to them that it really helped improve their sleep. And then the other one is called glycine. I don't know how to say it in English. But that one is actually it's an amino acid, so it's something that gets turned into proteins in your body, and it helps also with being able to fall asleep better and have better quality sleep. But what it also is involved in is in actually creating collagen. So I have only just now found out that it helps with collagen creation too. I took it for sleep before, but very rarely. And now actually I'm personally also planning to start taking it once a day, because I think as a connective tissue different person, it could probably help. But yeah, I just haven't personally done a lot of research into it yet, how it helps with connective tissue genesis. So, but I just still wanted to tell you about it because it could be really, really good, like covering sleep and connective tissue at the same time. Could be helpful. And then I wanted to ask you, do you try to practice something like sleep hygiene?
A little bit. And then like recently I've been trying to like wear like a eye mask or to like take care of my temperature and texture issues. But I have a bad habit of like say like leaving my phone on or like doing things on my computer and things like that.
Yeah.
Or now I've been trying to shut the blinds because I do like sunshine in the morning, but I think that sleeping in darkness helps.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, sleeping in darkness, I think I would prioritize it over it being super nice to have sunshine waking you up, because I get that, like, it's so beautiful when you get woken up by sunshine. But if you have street lamps outside or something, or just the light pollution of a city, it's affecting sleep. And another big thing, I don't know if you do that anyways, but personally it feels like I can feel it, that little lights are on. When you have a thing like, for example, like that, this will disturb me heavily. So I make sure all this stuff is turned off, or I cover it with something. Um, so in case you have stuff like that in your room, uh, just try to cover it or turn it off. And about the phone, yeah, it's very hard to stop using the phone at night, um, especially Discord. But
yeah, I'm usually like watching like contortion recordings before bed and just like laying down like this because like sitting upright with posture with hypermobility like starts to hurt
I
and I
hate
fatigue. So then I lay down with my laptop to study and stuff like that. And then I just put my laptop off to the side and
yeah.
sleep, which
Is
is
it
not good. I should climb out of my bed and put it away.
is it possible that you install a designated space in your room that is not your bed, where you can comfortably be reclined with your laptop, and then you close it and then you go to bed. So you have that physical ritual, maybe.
Maybe there's not a lot of room in my room. I would need to clean my room. Need to clean my room. So there's a little bit more space on the floor, and then like if I put away my laundry and things like that, then I can probably set a yoga mat down and then just and then climb up into my loft bed and sleep
Yeah,
up
yeah.
there. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, that's just like little things. I think the blocking out the lights is one of the major things. And then yeah, I cannot really give any good advice about the stopping to use the phone or the screen because I'm so bad at it too. The one
Yeah.
thing that I found is that can help me sometimes, but you already told me that you find it hard multitasking, is that I say to myself, now you stop, but then I put on some audio, like an audiobook or a podcast. And then during that, I do some, either brushing my teeth, or sometimes I put some lotion, and then I do maybe even some breathing, and then I can sort of stop visually agitating myself at least. So yeah, maybe that's something, but yeah, it's difficult.
Yeah.
And I found that when I use the glycinate, that supplement, um, it makes me so tired that I actually am sometimes without any effort able to just put away my electronics. So
Mhm.
it's just hard when you're like wanting to watch materials or special interests. So difficult.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the glycinate, because I started taking it too instead of the magnesium citrate. I
Yeah.
think that's been helping. And I think like remembering to build the habit of shutting my blinds and things like that has been helpful, like really really helpful. And also taking any of my textural issues, like if there's like grit in the bed, then I just like I can't fall asleep. So I think like those few things, if but sometimes I forget to shut off the blinds and then I don't sleep well. Or like yesterday it was just like me, it's all executive functioning things. Like for me, it's like I knew I needed to pee or poop or something like that, and I just ignored the signal, or I knew I was thirsty, I just ignored the signal for hours. And that's why I probably didn't sleep super well.
Yeah,
So
I understand. Do you do you generally do well with having super set routine? Or is
yes and no. Like there's some things like I think it's like more ADHD where I'm like I have to do this, but I don't set like, oh, I have to do this at this time. And then like if I don't finish like those things, then I just get frozen and
it,
stuff. So um yeah, but I it's difficult to make me adhere to a routine.
it's extremely difficult because I sometimes wish I was the type of autistic person that can just do the exact routine the same. Like
Yeah.
some autistics can do that, and I just can't. Like yeah. So it doesn't make sense to try to even write a routine because you will already know that your ADHD wants to break it or gets stressed.
Yeah.
So yeah, just better go with the flow, but gently incorporate, all that stuff. Um, yeah, that's the like non-workout stuff. For today, I was thinking of checking, first of all, isolated hamstring flexibility, also explaining some concepts, how you can know what if you're in the correct alignment, and also checking your hip flexor flexibility, because you said you feel like they're tight, but maybe they're not tight. Maybe it's just a feeling of tightness. And then, yeah, just explaining the overall concept of front splits, because there's open and closed, and then also the leg can be turned out or turned in, and it's all our legit splits for different situations. yeah, it's just good to know how to properly train them. And then, yeah, I would actually work into some front split active flexibility drills. And if we have time today, I'd also like to look at hamstring care for hypermobiles, because you mentioned something about that you used to previously strain them a bit before. And I found that literally every hypermobile person who wants to have flexible hamstring needs to strengthen them to be safe. So yeah, let's get started. Do you have a laptop or is it on your phone?
This is my friend's laptop, and I also have my phone with me here.
Yeah, no, it's just so you have a big screen, so you're able to put it so both of our screens are at the same time. Yeah, because that's kind of helpful to be able to see yourself too. So I already have to excuse my own, at the moment, poor hamstring flexibility because I also constantly struggle with the attachment tendon stuff, and I mostly do rehab for it. So I don't really do splits at the moment, but the first concept that I wanted to talk about is you know how you have those two hip bones here, the big bony parts. They are called sayas. It's 4 letters. I'm just going to refer to them to sayas today. So the fingers, when they point here, you can imagine that your sayas, they are the headlights of a car. And when a car drives, you know, the light shines really straight on. And you can always imagine those beams of light coming out of here. And the main goal is that, or the main issue with hamstring stretching is that your hips, your pelvis, can kind of move out of alignment in 2 different ways. So one way is that I would dump my pelvis that way. So you can see how the headlights would, you know, kind of tip over. And another thing is that the headlights can shift in another plane, which is that you might be, I have to show you from the side, that suddenly they're shining here, but people still try to stretch their hamstrings that way. I'm sure you've met this issue before. So the main part with hamstring stretches is that we want to keep our headlights shining straight ahead. From the side view, it would be all in one line. And from the front view, they just stay parallel to the floor. They don't dump to any side. And then another concept about hamstring stretching is hamstrings are actually 3 separate muscles. Oh, can you hear me okay, or am I too far away? Okay. So the hamstrings are 3 separate muscles, and one of them runs from the sit bone to the outside, and 2 of them run from the sit bone to the inside. So depending on how you turn your leg, you can catch different fibers. So for some people, maybe when they have an outward rotated leg, they come really far, but as soon as they try to go more neutral or even a bit internally, it's like, oh, I'm stuck. So that way you can figure out which part of your hamstrings is stiffer, and you can also make sure that you pay attention to not suddenly go to where it's easy anyway, so you can keep yourself in check. Okay, so the first posture that I'd like to see from you is going into this kneeling hamstring stretch, where you pay attention that your headlights don't shift, and you're trying to go with a flat back. Do you know what a flat back means? Yeah, so with a flat back, you just go as far as you can without shifting, And your kneecap is going to point up to the ceiling. So it's the neutral position for the leg. And I just want to see how far you come with the neutral back. Yeah, even just holding the balance is sometimes tricky. Okay, I'm gonna take a screenshot, so hold it for a little bit longer. Okay, and then you can show me the other side. Is that the same leg? No? Okay, sorry, I got confused. Okay, I got the screenshot. I mean, at the moment, it doesn't look like it's really stiff, but we can see later for sure. And then the hip flexors. Oh, sorry, I forgot one part. I also wanted to test the active flexibility. I should have done it directly, but basically you can go forward like that, but you can also try to, for that you need to actually have a chair next to you. I just noticed. You can see if you can actively lift the leg off. So I want to see how well your front of the legs can work. Wait, I'm gonna get ready for the screenshot. Oh, and also you don't have to lean forward for the lift off. I just want you, yeah, from neutral, trying to lift off, keeping the car headlights in the correct moment. Okay, good. And then the other side. Okay. Do you feel like this side is a bit weaker?
It's hard for me to know. Yeah, I probably have to do it a few more times just because I'm focusing on other things.
Yeah. It just looked a little bit to me like on this one, in the initial moment, it lifted as high as the other, and then it kind of sunk down a bit. So that's why I thought it looks a tiny bit weaker.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I do know that each side of my body is like pretty different. So yeah.
Yeah. Okay, but overall, it looks like you do have sufficient strength in the front of your body for the flexibility of the back of the body. So let's just check the hip flexors. With that one, I think it's what I showed you before once on Elasti School, where you actually try to pull your pubic bone up and then you push forward, keeping your lower belly strong, and the headlights are trying to stay exactly the same. So you just push into hip extension as much as you can without losing the belly. So it stays like here. Okay. Is that all you can get? I think so, right? No, now you lost the, go back into the position. Yeah, you want to keep, that's it. Yeah, it's a bit further than you had it before. And then you can do the other side. Push a little bit deeper if you can without losing the alignment. I think you can push a bit more forward. Yeah, okay, hold it. Curl the pubic bone a bit towards your chin. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I don't, do you, when you do that, do you feel a stretch in the front of your hip?
When you made the adjustments I did, and then by myself on certain days I do, and then certain days I don't. And then I also sometimes I always sink down lower and lower, but I think it's like without you cueing, then sometimes I feel it and then sometimes I don't. So I always do I usually warm up like I do some strength exercises for here that we do in Elastic school. And then I usually start off here and I move like here back and forth about 3 times, and then I stay. And like without you cueing, like I would not feel a stretch right here right now. And then what I do is I sink down halfway, and then I try to think about this knee driving towards the front and then this heel driving towards the back. And on this hip, I don't usually feel stretch. And then what I usually do is I sink down even lower, and then I think about my back, toes going to the back of the wall type of thing. And then I do the same thing on the other side, but the other side's tighter. So I usually feel stretches on that side, but it's just those small adjustments. Like when you start to cue, then I became clear with my body, like, and I knew I wasn't in the right position. And then I felt the stretch.
Yeah. I just want to check if the stretch you feel is muscular or if it might actually be neural. So how you can check that is you do the same exact thing that you did before. So you go in, try to push and really curl, and then you try to have your hands on the front leg, and everything down here stays the same, but what you do is massively try to round your upper back and touch your chin here, and then coming back up to neutral, and then around chin to chest, coming back up. And if it intensifies when you do that, and you feel it extremely localized just in one spot, it might actually be the nerves, not just muscle. Okay, so tucking in, staying upright first with your head, yeah, and pushing into it, and then try to round your upper back, chin to chest as much as you can, and coming back up. Yeah, do it a couple of times to feel into it. Yeah, do you feel it suddenly when you do that?
Yeah.
Okay. And that was the more flexible side, right?
Should I try the other side?
Yeah, yeah, please.
Oh, yeah.
Is it intense?
Yeah, and then sometimes, like, what the last time you cued me on this side, it was like it got more and more intense the more you cued me.
So did you also even feel a little bit of a tugging here eventually?
Yeah, I think I like right now as I just did, I felt like here.
Yeah, like
too.
the crest of the pelvic bone. It's like around that area, yeah.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
like yeah, sometimes like the stretch can be really deep. It can even like weave inside my pelvis. And other times it's a little bit more superficial. So I think it depends on my level of attention and whether I'm correctly making those small adjustments to the alignment for myself and with engagement about how intense and effective the stretch is. And sometimes it's just like, not but like I still get a stretch, especially on my flexible side. And it can be a little bit but on my tight side, I almost always feel a stretch.
So on the tight side, was it also when you did that you suddenly had a sudden increase?
I think without here and just with you cueing on both sides, I'm able to feel a stretch. And then as I did this too, I was able to feel stretch. So I feel it in both scenarios. Yeah, I don't know if it increases or
yeah.
So
it seems like there is a little bit of nerve tightness. So the actual exercise to loosen that up would be doing the same thing that I just told you. So you would maybe after you have generally warmed up, you would be doing this, and then just do it like, you can have the hands here or even on your hips. It's just important to round, and then just doing it maybe 10 times. It's like flossing your nerves. So it glides the nerves in like back and forth along your other tissues. And then just one set of 10 like that. After you did a general warm-up, before you do the rest of your session, should help mobilizing the nerves a bit. And then another thing that I'm thinking at the moment is that your hip flexors are maybe actually not tight in a classical sense, but you feel tightness because they need to be a bit stronger through their range of motion. So there's one really, really cool exercise. I call it hip extension eccentrics, that can help you with both strengthening and lengthening the hip flexors. And the cool thing about eccentrics, do you know what eccentrics are?
It doesn't hurt to review.
Okay.
Yeah.
So eccentrics, when we have muscles, I'm going to show it with the biceps because it's easy. A muscle can, when it contracts, it moves into a shortened state, so it moves concentrically. And when it lengthens and contracts at the same time, so I would be lowering a heavy weight and control it, it contracts eccentrically. So the muscle lengthens while it contracts. And it has been shown that eccentric focused muscle training helps strengthen tendons and connective tissue. So it's a win-win. And as a hypermobile person, you just have to load it in, you know, like adequate baby steps. So progress it just a bit slower than a normal person would. But overall, your body will adapt to it too and become more robust. So I'm not sure if your room offers a good setup to do the exercise, but I can show you first, and then you can figure out if there is a possibility to do it. I have to move you here. And I also have an instructional video that you can use to refer to later. I have to get a chair. So it could probably work with the bed that is in that room. Okay, so the exercise works like that you have something that is kind of soft for your foot, because you're going to stick your foot under a ledge or a bed or a sofa. And you have a surface that is high enough there. So what I mean with the soft thing is I put it under my foot, and then my foot is going to press against the wardrobe. And I try to shift the chair in so my knee is as close as it can be to the wardrobe. And then on the surface, you have to make sure that the hip or the pelvis is placed in a way that the leg can actually extend, because the exercise works like that, and you take the other leg in and then you slowly lower down as far as you can. So you see how the leg needs space to be able to extend, and then you contract your hip flexors to pull back up. And when you lower down slowly, the hip flexors contract eccentrically, until your end range. You will probably feel stretched there, and then you contract and pull back up again. And if it's too easy like that, you can take an arm behind, and then your hip flexor has to work against a longer lever. So it has to work against more weight. And a cool side effect is that you also train the muscles that pull up the foot. Okay, do you think you can manage that somehow in this room?
Let me move some stuff around. Wait. It's my friend's house.
Yeah. It looks nice.
Yeah, it looks really nice. And they actually have a lot of gym in here.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah.
I think you could use just the chair because it's super tall and you're, I think, kind of short. So what I didn't mention is that you holding and hugging in the other leg prevents you from compensating with your low back, which is really cool.
Oh, good.
Yeah. So overall, you should try to get even closer with the chair, I think. Yeah, exactly. And then before you go down, hug in the other leg. Oh, yeah. And use your hip flexors. So mentally connect to your hip flexors to pull you back up. That's it. And slowly lower down, pulling the leg in, lengthening through the hip flexor, and come back up. Can you feel it a bit in your hip flexors?
I have to think about it really hard just because I know I cheat and compensate.
Yeah.
Um,
So think about doing, you know, the hollow body exercise from gymnastics. Think about that with your core.
yeah, I feel it now, I think. Yeah.
Okay. But it does look like you now have suddenly more range of motion in your hip flexors than before.
Oh.
Try it again on this side that you just did, but moving even closer with the chair. Yeah. And then also, instead of using both hands to hug your knee, only hug it with one arm and the other goes back behind you. And your chest needs to touch your thigh. Yeah. Pull back up. Using the hip flexor. Yeah. And then go back down, hand up behind you. Yeah. Slowly let it lower through your hip flexors. Pulling your other thigh close to you all the time. Yeah. Can you feel it now more than before?
I'm not sure. I'm just trying to be careful with their furniture